Hi yogis, and I cannot believe this is our very last day. I can't believe it's 2 weeks since we first started this challenge. So hopefully you've got a little bit more of a grounding on the basics of yoga, the foundations of yoga. Obviously just shared with you a couple of other types of yoga that you can try. I've got one more type of yoga I'm going to share with you today. This is a particular love of mine. I absolutely love Yin Yoga, so which is what I'm going to show you today. Yin Yoga is sort of along the lines of restorative yoga. Restorative yoga tends to be more for relaxation, to just allow the body just to go into that relax and repair mode. So it's a very passive type of yoga. Yin Yoga is also a very passive type of yoga because you're not forcing yourself into any particular positions. But the difference between Yin Yoga and normal yoga and restorative is what we're trying to do is actually put the body under some form of stress. This type of yoga is particularly good for joints. It's good for opening up those connective tissues. So whereas normal yoga tends to be quite strengthening, because obviously we've done strength poses, you're trying to build muscle up and just get that strength in your legs. With Yin Yoga, you're going to get a lot more flexibility. It's a really, really lovely type of yoga. I mean, this is my favourite type of yoga to actually do, but also to teach. But you can't have all Yin, you have to have a bit of Yang as well. So I thought I'd mix it in a little bit and just put a little bit of Yin into our last session today. The main thing with Yin is try to listen to what your body's telling you. We are going to be holding the poses for about sort of 2 or 3 minutes. So, if there is any discomfort, you normally should have a little bit of discomfort. So don't be totally restorative. You need to feel something, as long as it's not pain. If you're looking at sort of like a little sort of gauge between sort of 0 being no pain, 10 being absolutely excruciating, you should be looking at about a 5. So you need to feel you're actually working. However, you also need to make sure you don't hurt yourself. So I hope that's not scared you off. It's actually a really nice type of yoga and it's so relaxing, even though you are actually working a little bit harder. So as always, if you've got some blankets, you might need a little bit of props here. You might need a blanket. If you've got a couple of books that you can use to add a little bit of more, unless you've got yoga bricks, it's quite nice just to give yourself a little bit of height if you need to. So maybe a couple of books if you've got them handy. If you've got yoga bricks, that's even better. And if you've got a bolster or some cushions, again, you can use those as well. I haven't got anything today. I'm trying to do this with no props just to show you that you can actually do it without props. But if you do need something, obviously, please feel free to grab something. So let's just take a few moments, as we always do at the start of our practice, just to draw ourselves nice and tall. Just drop the shoulders down. Again, we've done this every day, so we know what we're trying to achieve here. We're trying to just set ourselves an intention for this practice. Just allow yourself just to drop into this pose. Become still, quiet. Breath just to breathe for you, so you just allow everything just to settle. Not forcing anything, just coming to that nice sense of stillness. As always, if you need to bring the legs out in front of you, that's absolutely fine. You don't have to be cross-legged. Wonderful. Let's just very gently open those eyes now. So our first pose we're going to do is called a half butterfly. The actual pose names are different in Yin than they are in normal sort of Hatha Yoga, because Hatha Yoga tends to be based on Indian principles, whereas Yin Yoga is sort of a bit more Chinesey, so we use some sort of works on meridians and things like that, so the pose names are slightly different as well. So it's half butterfly. I'm going to just bring the legs out nice and wide, and then we're just going to bring your right foot in towards your left thigh. Now, if you find that your right knee is just up here and it's, you can't sort of like push it down anymore, maybe pop a blanket or something just underneath that thigh just to give it a little bit of support. So again, we're trying to fill the gaps like we did with restorative yoga, so you're not sort of finding it floating, because you're going to put a little more pressure onto that joint. Another top tip as well is if you are struggling to bring that knee sort of down towards the floor, just pop something underneath your bottom, maybe like a cushion, or just to raise your bottom up a little bit. And if this straight knee, this left knee, feels a little bit uncomfortable having it straight, you're more than welcome to come into, just put a little bend there, or again just put a rolled up blanket underneath that knee if you need to, just to give it some support. So with this particular pose, we're going to just allow ourselves just to come forward. So the hands can just rest onto the floor in front of you, I mean, you might find that you can only get to here, which is absolutely fine. Just allow the head to drop down. Maybe close those eyes as well. But obviously, if you can walk those hands forward a little bit, that's fine. The main thing is we're not trying to force ourselves into this. And you tend to find if you've got your palms facing upwards, it's easier to drop yourself into it. If you have your palms facing down, you might find you're pulling yourself into this pose, which we're not trying to do. We're just trying to allow ourselves to become really heavy. Just relax your shoulders, relax your jaw, relax your head. Just allow everything just to come forward. So where you should be feeling this is probably a little bit of a stretch in your lower back. Obviously be really careful how this feels. If it feels a little bit too strong, obviously just walk your hands back a little bit so you're a little bit more upright. You might feel it in the groin, in your hips, and again just adjust your legs accordingly. If it's too much to put your foot into your thigh, just bring it down towards your knee a little bit more, and again just have a little bit of support underneath that bent leg if you need it. So we're just going to allow ourselves just to settle here just for about another minute or so. Just allow that breath just to gently ease in and out. Just check you're not holding tension anywhere else. So just check your jaw, check your shoulders, check your feet. Very slowly now, let's just turn those palms to face down. We're going to walk those hands back very gently, very slowly, just taking your time. The main thing is the transitions between this one pose to another. Again, you need to do it really slowly because obviously you've been in that pose for a while, so you can walk yourself back very gently. Let's bring the hands behind us, let's stretch those legs out. So again, you can either just have the knees bent, just windscreen wiper those legs from side to side, or if you want to stretch them out, maybe release those ankles a little bit. The main thing is just listen to what your body tells you, just sort of do what feels right. So almost like trying to do counter poses, trying to do the opposite. So again, it's nice to just draw the shoulder blades together, just open up the chest, just stretching those legs out. And then we're going to do the second side. So again, very slowly, ease yourself into this. So again, right leg out to the side, we're going to bring that left leg in towards your thigh. So again, you might find one side feels much easier than the other. So equally, if this knee is feeling a little bit as if you need some support, just pop something underneath that thigh, just to give yourself something to rest that knee on. And again, you can keep a little bend into that right leg if you want to. So again, just allow yourself, and also raising your bottom up also helps. So just slowly, palms facing up, we're just going to allow that head to drop down. So again, just release that neck. So again, if you need to just move your head from side to side a little bit just to release any tension in that neck, that's fine. Just allow the head just to drop down. Just enjoy this process. Just check your breath. Breath should be nice and slow and deep. If you find your breath is a little bit shallow, You may be overstretching a little bit, so just ease yourself up a little bit more. The main challenge with Yin is trying to keep your focus really on what's happening in your body rather than focusing on what's happening in your mind, because your mind should become a little bit calmer now. And very slowly going to turn those palms to face down, slowly walk those hands back. Take it easy, don't rush yourself up. And again, if you want to bring the hands behind you, stretch those legs out. So again, just give those ankles, those knees a bit of a waggle. Just screen wiper those legs a little bit if you want to. Again, nice and gently. So the main thing with Yin is, if you're thinking about shapes, what we're trying to do is achieve a particular shape just to open certain joints. So we're going to come into probably a little bit more of a challenging pose. I would probably do straight away. I would normally go to maybe a couple more poses before I moved up to this one. Because normally the class lasts for about an hour or so, an hour and a half, but obviously because this is a shortened version, I'm going to just sort of throw you straight in there. But if you are struggling, obviously what we're trying to do is achieve a shape, so I'm going to give you an alternative which may be a little bit easier. Okay, so we're going to start off on our hands and knees. Now what you might want to do is get a little bit of padding underneath your knees, because we are going to be on the knees for quite a while. The other option you've got is to fold your mat up in the middle just so you've got about 3 layers of padding. Obviously if your knees are fine, obviously it should be okay. So make sure, so this is the harder option. So again, don't get too disheartened if this looks too hard. There is another option I'm going to show you in a minute. So again, just again onto all fours, bring those hands underneath your shoulders and then the knees underneath your hips. Now what we're going to do, we're going to come into what's called a lizard pose, so which is basically like a lunge. So we're going to bring your right foot now just between your hands. Now sometimes it feels as if those arms aren't quite long enough to touch the floor. If you do have books, you can have a couple of books, or if you've got yoga bricks, you can raise them put them underneath your hands. Another alternative is to bring both hands onto the inside of that right foot. Now what we're going to do here, we've got a nice right angle with that leg there. Now that could be all you want to do, because we're going to get quite a strong stretch on that, the inside of that groin there. If you want to, you've got the option of just walking that foot forward a little bit more, just really dropping that hip down. So obviously that's going to put a little bit more stress onto those hips. Now we will be staying here for about 2 or 3 minutes, so again, just be mindful of how that feels. So this is option 1. So this is called a lizard pose. So again, we've got a nice hip flexor stretch there. We're also working on that the inside of that groin there. Now if this is going to be too strong for you, if you have issues with your knees, the front one or the back one, what we're going to do, come onto that back. Now it's the same position, but basically we're going to be on our backs. So if you're obviously happy with that lizard pose, just stay where you are. If that feels uncomfortable coming into lizard, we're going to straighten out your left leg. Just draw your right knee in towards your chest. So the hand can stay on the back of your thigh, and this leg can be just where it is, so you can bring it onto the front of your thigh. So again, we've still got that nice shape, we've still got that nice stretch on the inside of the groin there, we've got that hip flexor stretch. Now if that's still a bit too strong for you on your left side, what you can do is just bend that left knee and just keep that right knee in towards your chest. So again, it's a similar shape, but again we are getting that lovely stretch into the groin. Now I'm actually going to go back into lizard again, so you're more than welcome to stay into the reclined version. So we're going to stay here maybe for a minute or so now, because we have been in here for about a minute or so already. So again, the main thing is just let that head drop down. Just breathe into those areas that feel a little bit tight, so those hips. Doing really well, so just keep that breath going. Again, it will be challenging, you will feel sensations, you will feel it hurting, but we're not hurting. There should be no pain, you should feel the tension in the body, you should feel that stress in the body. And it's actually that stress that allows everything to release. So we do need that little bit of stress. Just keep at it, doing really well. Just allow that breath to release it. Give yourself permission to release it. Very gently now. So if you're on your back reclining, we're just going to bring both those knees in towards your chest. If we're coming into the lizard pose, we're just going to very slowly walk those hands back, Again, bring both those knees back together. Just take your time. Bring the hand underneath your shoulders, and we're just going to move those hips a little bit from side to side just to ease that lower back. Again, with some movement into those hips again. And if you are on the reclined version, just keep those knees in towards your chest, maybe circling those knees around. So the main thing is when you go into the second side, just take your time, just getting yourself into that position, and you will probably find one side feels a lot easier than the other. So again, if you need to choose the easier option the second time, that's absolutely fine. Or if you've got the easier option the first time, you might want to try the more tricky option the second time. So let's go into the lizard on the second side. So we're going to bring your left foot through. Again, either bring the hands either side of that front foot, or again, if they feel as if your arms aren't quite long enough and you haven't got bricks, just bring your hands onto the inside of that left foot. So we're not necessarily framing it, we're just bringing it on the inside. Again, if you're on the reclined version, we're going to bring that left knee in towards your chest, straightening out your right leg, or you can keep that right leg nicely bended. So again, you might find one side feels much easier. This is always my easier side. And again, the main thing here is make sure your knee is directly above your ankle, just so you're not putting pressure onto that front knee. So if you want to go a little bit more challenging, what you can do is curl your back toes under and bring that back knee off. But that's probably a little bit maybe too advanced. But again, if you want to go for it, feel free. Use the breath. Just let everything go. With every breath out, almost feel yourself just sinking deeper into that hip, deeper towards the floor. It's actually only by holding these poses for the time that we actually hold them for that actually allows them to release. We need to hold them for at least 3 minutes, just to allow the muscles to get to let go, or the ligaments and those connective tissues and the joints. Obviously, we're going to go to 2 to 3 minutes here, so just to get the idea of how they feel. And slowly, just walk those hands back, or if you've got the reclined option, just bring both knees back in towards your chest. Bring both those knees back together if you're into the full lizard. Again, smooth those hips a little bit from side to side, just to get a little bit of movement back in. Okay, so we're going to come into a pose of a child now. So if you're reclined version, basically, if you think of again the shape that you're trying to achieve, with pose of a child, you've got your knees nice and wide, and you're allowing the body just to sink forward through between your hands. Obviously, if you've got a pillow or something, you can use that underneath your chest. If you'd want to stay in the reclined option, again, it's the same sort of shape. We're on our backs. We're just drawing both those knees in towards your chest. So again, the hands can come on the back of your knees, or they can come just on the front of your knees. So again, same shape that we're trying to achieve. It takes the pressure off your feet, your ankles, and also those knees. And you're going to get exactly the same benefit as you are if you decide onto the normal version of a pose of a child. But again, we're not going to stay here for a couple of moments. For a couple of minutes, so again, just get yourself nice and comfortable. If you need some padding underneath the tops of your feet, or maybe onto the tops of your ankles, please just get yourself a blanket or a pillow of some sort. So again, just allow your body just to sink down. And if you want to choose something to, maybe a pillow to put underneath your chest, or if you have a bolster, you can also use those as well. very gently. Let's move ourselves out of this. So if you are on your back, you may want to just roll to one side. And we're going to slowly move ourselves forward. We're going to come into a gentle back bend. So if you are onto the reclined option, you're just going to roll onto your bellies. And then we're going to bring your elbows level with your chest. We're going to come into a seal pose. So in terms of what you do with your legs, you can have your legs wherever feels comfortable really. You can have them a little bit further apart. You can have them together, you can have them nice and wide. Just relax the shoulders down a little bit, just draw them back. Allow your head just to drop down towards the floor. So again, ideally there shouldn't be too much stress on your back because we're relaxing all the muscles in our back. So if that does feel a little bit too strong, the other option you've got is just to fold your arms underneath your head and allow your head just to drop down. So again, it just takes the pressure off that lower back a little bit. Ideally you should be reasonably safe with your arms into that lovely seal pose arms. Allow that breath just to move in and out. So this is a really nice pose just to lengthen the front of your body. Just get a nice stretch into the psoas muscles, your core muscle, stretching all the front. And again, just opening up the back a little bit as well. Just allow that belly just to sink yourself into the floor a little bit more. Relax your jaw, relax your mind, relax your eyes, relax your neck. Very slowly now, we'll just walk those hands back. Just coming into a pose of a child, just for a couple of breaths. Just allow yourself to just sink down. And then gently, let's just roll ourselves onto our backs. We're going to come into a shavasana. So again, if you need anything underneath the back of your head, that's fine. Just allow yourself just to come into a nice, comfortable position. And legs, just let them drop out to the side. Just bring your arms by your side. And just gently allow that breath to come in and out. Out of this meditation or this savasana, just maybe starting to wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. And if you want to stretch your body out, feel absolutely fine just to bring your arms above your head. Just for that lovely stretch. Maybe take a nice big yawn. Towards your wide stretch. And then let's draw those knees in towards your chest. Just to taking one knee up, then the other. Just taking your time. Again, if you need to rock a little bit from side to side, that's absolutely fine. And then when you feel ready, let's just roll to one side and gently ease ourselves up into a nice seated position. So coming up. Okay, legs out in front, so legs into a nice cross-legged position. Just take a couple of moments just to notice how lovely and relaxed you're feeling, calm the mind is. Slowly bring your hands into your heart centre. And again, just giving yourself that thanks for honouring your body in this practice today. Thank you, Louise, for joining me. So I hope you've enjoyed that little foray into Yin Yoga. As I say, it's one of my personal favourites, but obviously we can't do all the Yin stuff all the time. You have to do the Yang, so it's nice to mix it up a little bit. But obviously, if you've got any comments or there's anything you're struggling with, please feel free to message me, comment below, or whatever. You've got my details. And I will I want to thank you so much for actually really taking part in this challenge. I hope you've enjoyed it, and so any comments would be most grateful. Take care. See you soon. Bye bye.